I remember at E3 2015 when Bethesda first revealed this game, spending 30 minutes hyping it up. It was Bethesda's first E3. And for their first E3, I was impressed. They showed off everything. Way to go showing off your biggest game at the end of the conference, leaving many satisfied, because it worked. I've never played a Fallout game before, nor was I ever interested. I mean, I knew the Fallout series were good games and well known for being big and open. It was one of those games to me where other games piqued my interest, thus overshadowing Fallout's. But after watching Bethesda's first E3, even I got a little hyped for Fallout 4, as they made it out to be it was going to be the best game in the world. Fast forward to 2016. I didn't buy it right away because of other games I was into at the time, but then the holidays started coming up and went to Black Friday, and believe it or not, I got the game for just 15 bucks, which, damn, not only is that a steal, but it also puts me in this place where I can't really complain about price, as a lot of people bought it for 60 bucks. Now, I didn't start playing it right away until a couple weeks later. Finally, I thought I'd try it out just to get a little taste and see how it plays. When I started playing Fallout 4 for the first time, I was overwhelmed. Too overwhelmed. So overwhelmed discovering that there is so much to do. 1 hour into the game, I stopped playing because I just didn't have time to learn how to do everything because of other things I was doing at the time. Fast forward in the middle of 2017, and there really wasn't any games I was interested coming out. I had nothing to play until I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to give Fallout 4 a second chance, and this time get into it because the only other game I was excited for was Friday the 13th, and that wasn't coming out for a while, and so I thought to myself, why not? It still took me a while to get used to everything, but once I learned everything, read everything, understood everything, and paid attention to what NPCs had to say, I got it. Eventually grew to find myself immersed in this game. Because this is obviously a big game, I honestly didn't know where to start. I mean, look at this mess. I clearly understand why a lot of people like it. Not only was this game overhyped at E3, but it became a phenomenon. I mean, good lord. You got the Funko Pops, you got the action figures, you got your clothes such as your Fallout t-shirt, socks, pants. Some group of people actually made Nuka-Cola Quantums, which, don't buy this crap, people, okay? It costs $90 per bottle, and all you're getting is sugar water. And not to mention, the bottle doesn't even look like it does in the game. There's even a Pip-Boy mug, admittedly looks cool. There's even a freaking Fallout version of Monopoly. It's crazy. Bethesda knew they struck gold, and so they had different versions of the game, like the Pip-Boy edition, which if you're trying to get a Pip-Boy by itself, they go for pretty high prices on eBay, so if you see one that's cheap, just be careful it's not broken, like the lock getting loose. I think it's worth addressing the divisiveness of this game, because many people debate if this is a good game or deserved all the hype it got. First, you got the hardcore fanboys that defend this game no matter what. Then, you got Fallout fans who've played the previous games that were so disappointed how it lacked so much content compared to Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Then you got average gamers that just don't care. Even Rooster Teeth got butthurt at Jeff Gertzman's review for calling out the game-breaking bugs and glitches and gave it a 3 out of 5, which isn't a bad score.
Okay, so I have a bone to pick, and it's people who review shit low, because I feel like people do that to be like, we're different.
Yeah.
Everybody get Fallout 4, 90s and up, 70.
Yeah.
Like, you're not different or special just because you review a game low.
Look, we have legitimate things to say, and if we don't rate it low, you won't know how legitimate they
Yeah,
are.
nobody will come to our site to look at it.
No, I
Like,
totally agree. I
another
feel
90, whatever.
Yeah, people, especially before the game came out, people were jumping on like that negative bandwagon, which is why one of the first things I started talking about this episode was I feel like the bugs and the negativity is really overblown. Like people are like, and that's like what people are making a stand on to try to stand out. Like, oh, well, we're different. We have a more keen eye than the average reviewer. Like people were jizzing all over
discerning.
Jeff Gerstmann and Giant Bomb because
Yes.
they like called out all the problems in
They
the
were
game.
like, it's a technical mess.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thank you, Jeff Gerstmann, for keeping it real.
We sipped
so
wine and
real.
ate cheese on crackers as we wrote our review.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. You think Jeff Gertzman is an attention seeker for calling out the bugs, which he wasn't wrong about, and didn't bow to Bethesda, even though he's been around since 1996 and a gaming legend. He even got fired from GameSpot for giving an honest review, even when he was ordered not to do so. But you're right, Rooster Teeth. He's the real attention seeker, even though he's very well known. There were even many glitch compilation videos that hindered many people's experiences. Despite the divisiveness between critics and fans, this is going to be an unbiased review, as I've never played the previous installments. I've never played New Vegas, or Fallout 3, or 2, or 1, or Fallout Shelter, which I heard many people stopped playing. I'm going into this review completely naked. I think the best place for me to start is the story. Now, I'm obviously not going to spoil anything, just what you need to know. It starts in the year 2077. A nuclear holocaust happens. You and your family manage to be saved by escaping in a bunker called vaults, stored in cryogenic pods. 200 years later, it's a post-apocalyptic world. Your son gets kidnapped, and it's pretty much up to you to find him. And that's it. It sounds simple, but there are some twists and turns. To be honest, the story does feel a little bit short in my opinion, and could have been longer, because once you beat it, you feel like there's nothing left to do besides playing repetitive missions, unless you buy all the DLC. I'm sure you can beat this game without having to upgrade yourself, or not as much. Although you can add mods, which these games are perfect for, like Skyrim and GTA, so if mods are your thing, you'll get endless hours, but I'm judging this game on its own. When it comes to characters, most of them are pretty bland. My favorite character is this man right here, Nick Valentine. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking how ugly he is, but looks can be deceiving. The more you get to know him, the more you realize how sincere and genuine he is. If you're nice to him, of course. He's relatable and has a heart of platinum. Believe it or not, he's actually one of my favorite video game characters of all time. I love you, Nick. I don't care what you look like. You may be a synth with a taken identity, but you eventually made it your own. You gotta like how Codsworth actually says whatever you named your character. I feel so sorry for the voice actor saying 1,000 names, so if you want Codsworth to cuss, name your character something unclean.
Mr. Howard, Sean has been changed, but he absolutely refuses to calm down.
You heard Codsworth say my name. That isn't for the demo. We actually have recorded around 1,000 of the most popular names for him to say.
Probably the most annoying character in the game is this guy, Preston Garvey. My god, he tells you the same things. Defend this, defend that. I mean, they could have at least given him different dialogue. For a map this big, he usually sends you to the same places. It became too rinse and repeat to where I ended up not doing half of the things he tells me to do. As for interacting with NPCs, there's not much dialogue to respond with. It's either you say yes, no, be sarcastic, or just cop out, which is something some Fallout fans didn't like as the previous games had more dialogue options. But at the same time, I do really appreciate how the developers implemented a voice for your main character instead of being a mute. Like any game with a choice mechanic, such as Heavy Rain or Life is Strange, they always push this feature like everything you choose has a consequence or an impact, when in reality, it doesn't, as they usually give you multiple endings that are way too similar, or they let you pick whatever ending you want so sudden at the very end. That is why I'm not too excited for Detroit Become Human, because I already know my choices won't be that impactful towards my conflicts. Because of lack of dialogue choices, there aren't many endings, which I believe there is only 4, making you feel your choices don't really matter too much, because let's face it, if developers actually did make a game where everything did revolve around your choices, the game would take a decade to finish. I guarantee you that. Holy crap, do I still have a lot to cover. Now, I put 155 hours into this game. It was my second most played game of 2017. When it comes to the gameplay, there is a lot to do. You can do almost everything. Here are just some examples. You can make your own character, male or female, and make it look exactly the way you want. You can build your own house, build your own town, take over lands and environments, craft furniture, place furniture wherever you want, go shopping for clothes, ammo, health, weapons, build your own stores, start your own business and earn money, join clans, start your society, take care of people, play games within a game, plant food and crops, purify water to get clean drinking water, set up or build your own defenses, protect your territories from raiders. You can craft all kinds of things like attachments for your guns, make deadlier weapons, improve body armor, upgrade body armored suits, or cook your own food and meals if you have the right ingredients. You have a Pip-Boy that manages everything in your inventory, like your weapons, apparel, health, items, others, junk, mods, ammunition, what quests you have done or haven't finished, territories you have, and see if everything is okay. You have your map, you can even listen to broadcasts and some tunes, or upgrade your perks. Just be careful you don't collect too many items, as you can run out of room. Now do you see why I was overwhelmed and couldn't play it right away? It is a lot to swallow and need patience, and because there's so much to do, it can be a time killer. I even remember reading an article about this 28-year-old man who got so addicted to the game that he ended up losing his job, his friends, and his wife and kids. And so, he actually tried to sue Bethesda for $7,000, which I call BS. Really, dude? You decided to blame your problems on a video game? That's bullcrap. You just gave up in life. I bet you didn't even have any friends to begin with, and I bet you did something else that was going on between you and your wife, most likely treating her like trash. And because you couldn't own up to your problems, or learn to man up, she left you. It had nothing to do with the game, and I am so glad you got nothing out of it. I'm gonna try something different for my channel by giving out beginner's tips. Look, if you already played the game and know all of this, good for you. These tips are for people who never played Fallout 4 but are thinking of trying it. Skip to this part of the video if you are not a beginner. Here are some basic tips that you should know before playing. Tip number 1. Thank you, fast travel. Like Skyrim, you can easily go to your map and click and teleport back to whatever place you already discovered. Tip number 2, save it. Save very often. There aren't that many checkpoints. This game does not care if it has to send you 3 hours back. If you die, you're going all the way back from when you last saved. Just be careful not to save it when you know you're gonna get stuck. There are suicide bombers you gotta be on a lookout for that can kill you instantly and run fast. The only way to stop them is if you're ready and have a powerful weapon with you. Tip number 3. Even if you make a mistake or do something you regret doing, just pause it, go to load, and load up another save file to where you want to try again. Tip number 4. Want full health? Just go to bed. I usually pick 1 hour. Tip number 5. How to pick locks. You can use lock picks called bobby pins. You see that red screwdriver? You never move that red screwdriver first. You always have to move the lockpick first when you think you have in the right place. Then gently move the red screwdriver. If it doesn't go all the way, then that means you gotta move the lockpick somewhere else. Until then, you'll get it. Tip number 6. How to hack terminals. When you find a terminal and you're trying to hack it, the main objective is to click on the key word. When you click on a false word, it will give you a number of likeness. What likeness means is, let's say you click on a false word and it says a likeness of 1. That number 1 means the false word you clicked on only has 1 letter of the key word that you're trying to look for. Another thing you should know about hacking is punctuation highlights. When you move to certain punctuations, you may notice that more than 2 punctuations are highlighted. When you click on those, it will only do 2 things. It will either get rid of a false keyword, or it will give you more retries. I highly recommend you do this on your last try, and also making it easier for you to find the right keyword.
I'm through.
Tip number 7. How to store your junk. When it comes to trying to make room in your Pip-Boy, the best thing to do is, whichever territory you have has a workshop that you can store your junk in. Whatever workshop you store your junk in that area, go to your building menu or crafting benches, and your junk will work as if it was in your Pip-Boy. That way you don't have to carry your junk wherever you go. Tip number 8. Choosing the best attributes. When you first start the game, and when you're done making your character, you are given the option what attributes you want to give your points to. You only have 21 points to spend. However, you can still get more points each time you level up in the game. But for a start, I recommend to spend the most points on strength for your inventory space and make you take less damage, endurance for more health, and agility for more AP points. AP points is action points, and what action points does is it lets you sprint and it lets you use VATS more often. VATS is a slow motion pre-targeting system. Funny thing is, in the previous Fallout games, it used to pause the game. If you're using a small weapon, then it will take less action points. If you're using a long gun, then it will take more action points. In conclusion, I think the problem with Fallout 4 is they heavily relied on spending countless efforts on gameplay than the story and characters, rather than both, which is where I can see fans' disappointments. Another complaint I've seen before this game came out is the graphics. People said it didn't look next-gen enough. Honestly, in my opinion, I really don't care about the graphics with a game this size. Yes, these aren't the best graphics ever, but they don't look horrible though, and you can still make out what everything is. There's a saying graphics don't make a great game, and I feel this is one of them as I enjoyed mostly everything else. So what's my overall score? Well, with any game or piece of media entertainment with a mainstream following, I know I'm going to get dislike on either side no matter how fair I try to be, so my score for Fallout 4 is a 7 out of 10. Because I am a story-driven type of gamer. I like great stories. Although I do have to mention I did get an ending I'm unhappy with due to the lack of choices, but even if I did get a good ending, I don't think that'll change my score. I believe Fallout 4 is a victim of a game that tried to do everything at once but couldn't keep up with all aspects. In this case, the storyline, most of the quests you do, and the characters. Maybe someday I will replay this from start to finish to see if I can get a better ending, but right now, I don't got the time. Yes, mods will give you an infinite amount of satisfaction. By the way, don't support Bethesda's Creation Club because it's just dumb. And yes, I am aware there's plenty of DLC, which I haven't played. Just to give you a bit of a warning for those who are thinking of getting the Game of the Year edition, buyers beware, because for those who don't know, the DLC is on a digital code, not in the disc. So be careful you don't get an expired code. Why Bethesda decided to do this is beyond me, but I feel a game should be great on its own. You shouldn't have to buy DLC to make a game better, especially for a AAA game. That is why I chose to judge this game standing alone. It's a good game, it's not a bad game. Nobody should be saying it's a terrible game. Even if you dislike Fallout 4, you should at least appreciate how it garnered new audiences that feel like trying out the previous games. Like me, Fallout 4 is the first Fallout I've played, and someday I might review Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Man, this review turned out to be longer than expected, but that's what happens. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it to the end, did I miss anything? Well, I'm sure I did with a game this big. Make sure to like and subscribe, and peace out everybody.